want to hear him and we want him to answer our questions. So these challenges do come forth time and again. Again, another beauty of a federal structure, as I would say. So your state has coal, your state has power. Still there are issues in that segment which continue. Your state can, and I know everyone wants to hear you rather me. So I would not go on it, but I had a personal question before I wrap and tell you the whole concept and why we doing it. How does it feel like a professional to become a politician and get lesser remuneration? It's all about remuneration today. You have left a lucrative job and you're a politician by choice. You haven't come in because there was a family pressure or a parental pressure. And if I got you right, you in fact told us once that you were asked by your father, stay away. So I really want to know that to leave a lucrative job and to come into this job in this public eye, what do you want to say to the youth who want to do? There are a lot of students also here, and they would definitely like to know what it makes one to join a profession called politics. I would definitely not join because I'm not that thick-skinned also. Although I've been married to a civil servant, but no, I'm not that thick-skinned. So sir, these were some thoughts, and I hope you can answer some of our questions here. And I thank with all, on behalf of my family and the fraternity of 86, which is here, which is our extended family, our family members who have joined us, friends, families who have joined us virtually, quite a number of them. I thank you for making it possible for us. I thank the DG of MCR HRD to making it possible, the additional DG, and Shanti has not been able to make it because she's in a meeting with the CM. She has promised the Chief Secretary of Telangana. Without her support, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mother. Before I invite the Minister to speak, if I may request everybody to turn their phones to either flight mode or to mute, just as a housekeeping announcement. And now to turn to our VIP guest, Mr. KTR Ramarao, Minister for Industries and Commerce and Municipal Administration and Urban Development, Government of Telangana. As a young migrant myself to this state, sir, very keen to hear your speech, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the Director General of MCR HRD, Sri Shashank Goyal. Thank you, the Additional General. Thanks to also to the Additional Director General, Sri Ben Herika. Thank you, ma'am, Richaji, for inviting me. And thanks to all of you for joining us because it's a very damp day in Hyderabad. It's a very wet day in Hyderabad. You know, a lot of people complaining in Twitter, a lot of people complaining elsewhere on how waterlogged roads are, etc., etc. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for expressing your affection towards Mr. Abhay Tripathi. Richa, I seriously wonder now, because you asked me in the last 5 minutes at least 10 questions. I wonder how many questions you used to ask Abhay every day. Must have been quite a few. And also when you said, you know, he's a batch of 86, you know, you kept saying team of 86, batch of 86. I remember, you know, that movie, 83, right, the World Cup. So this is sort of, you know, giving me a bit of a, you know, sort of a reminder that there are batches in IAS officers, they flock together, they do well. So compliments to all of you, sir. Pradesh, or I'm guessing Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh, Ranchi, so northern part of India. So the thing is, I mean, end of the day, if you look at the Hakiki Hyderabadis, the original Hyderabadis, the true blood, the true blue Hyderabadis who were born, raised here, versus anybody who's moved here, I think majority of them, in fact, would be from outside of this city. Somebody could be from 50 kilometers away, somebody could be from 1,000 kilometers away, but essentially, It's a city full of migrants. And if you look at any developed world, any part of the developed world, be it the US, be it Europe, be it any part, I think, in fact, just this afternoon, I was browsing, on my phone, on YouTube, an ad popped up inviting people to come work in Germany. An ad in YouTube inviting Indians to come and work in Germany. So the point is, I think immigrants, especially hardworking immigrants with skills, with a lot of, fire in their belly is what make cities great, what make countries great, what makes states great. So I can't thank enough to all the immigrants who have come here, made Hyderabad and Telangana their home, and who have contributed immensely. Thank you, and I think they deserve a big round of applause before we begin. So, Richa said, why not economics? When she called me and when she invited me to this lecture, I said, economics, how am I related? She said, but that's what the theme is, so you have to figure out, come talk to us about economics, tell us all about what your state has been doing. So, I thought to myself, good economics is good politics, and being a good politician, I thought I'll take this as an opportunity to present to you this case of Telangana, which I call the most successful startup state of independent India. Because since 1950s, since independence, in fact, after 1947, there have been a number of states that have been formed. After the first State Reorganization Commission was constituted back in early 50s, and after the first set of states were formed on linguistic basis in 1950s, since then till now, till 2014, number of new states have been created. Most recently, if you have to look at this millennium, starting with Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh in 2001, and in 2014, Andhra and Telangana. So in this millennium itself, we've had 5. In the last one, we've had the remaining states. So altogether in India right now, we have 28 states. Now, what sets Telangana different? What are the challenges that Telangana has had to face as a young state? I think I'd dwell on that a bit. What happens is, the context of the formation of each state is very different from the other. So if you look at Uttarakhand or Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh, I know that there was a protracted struggle in Jharkhand led by Sri Shibu Sorenji and his party, the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha. But Chhattisgarh and Uttarakhand, in fact, were formed more for administrative convenience, more for, I think, more to give company to Jharkhand, in a way, if I have to say that, in 2001. But in the case of Telangana, this state was formed after a very, very hard-fought, protracted struggle which lasted for decades. Yes, there were highs, there were lows, there were a number of times when it was deemed a lost cause, but eventually in 2001, when our current Chief Minister, Honorable Sri KTR, formed his political outfit called as the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, he had given a clarion call. He said this would be the last opportunity for the formation of the state, and he would go around sensitizing. He took that Ambedkar philosophy, fight, unite, and strive. He took it very, very seriously. As an Ambedkarite, he actually strived very hard for about 14 years. He did everything in his capacity to sensitize people, to agitate when there was a need, to actually make it a very important cause for the entire political spectrum in India. Eventually in 2014, I don't want to go into the nitty-gritties of what happened between 2001 to 2014 because it's all water under the bridge. There's a number of things that I can talk about, but I would rather not go there. I'll talk about what happened after formation of Telangana. In 2014, the people of Telangana, by way of their struggle, by way of their democratic spirit, have conferred a compulsion on the political system in India. It was not that Congress was very keenly wanting to deliver in Telangana. It was not that BJP was wholeheartedly supporting Telangana. It was that both UPA and NDA were compelled and were left with no choice, literally, given the political considerations, to concede and to deliver the state of Telangana. But, like Richa said, when the state of Telangana was eventually formed on the 2nd of June 2014, there were lots of doubts. There were lots of rumors. There were lots of hearsays. There were lots of apprehensions. A lot of people wondering what would happen next. And adding to this, adding fuel to the fire, I think I can't blame media, but I have to say this. I see some friends from media. Please don't get me wrong when I say this, and don't misquote me and kind of chastise me tomorrow, but I'll have to say this. After the advent of 24/7 electronic media especially, there wasn't a single day in my memory from 2009 to 14 when the issue of Telangana was not debated or not actually was beaten to death. Every aspect, every single aspect with respect to formation of Telangana, would it be a viable state? Would the leadership here, have it in them to actually make it a successful state? Would this state actually survive? What would happen to the migrant population? What would happen to Andhras? What would happen to Rayalaseemas? What would happen to the Kannadigas, the Maharashtrians, everybody who's settled here, who's made Hyderabad their home? What would happen to the Hyderabadi cosmopolitan fabric? All these questions were asked. There was even rumors that this would become a hot den for Naxalites. There were even rumors that the feudals would return and Telangana would once again go back to 1950s and 1940s, and it would literally become one of the most backward states in India. These were all the things that were floated, all the theories, all the nonsense that was said about Telangana. Today I stand here proudly, representing the state of Telangana, being a responsible minister in the government, and being a responsible citizen of this state. I want to list out to you all the achievements that this state has accomplished. Like I said, we focused on one basic thing. Good economics is good politics. As long as you create wealth, as long as you make sure that the poorest of the poor in the society are taken care of, as long as you ensure that the wealth that gets distributed equitably, without depriving anybody, without any depravity, I think you would have done your job. Our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri KTR, he's a man who's learnt it the hard way in life, that suppression of excellence is something that is done as a matter of routine. He's had to fight his way up all along his life. He's never had anything which kind of helped him politically, meaning, especially in the politics, because you said politicians have thick skin, you also said bureaucrats have thick skin, so I have to kind of refer you, to that comment of yours. Yes, you have to develop a thick skin to survive in this. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, there is a lot of mediocrity that you have to put up with. Unfortunately, whether I like it or not, there are a lot of legacy processes, legacy issues in place which I can't simply negate or overlook or eclipse and say that, I can dispense away with that. You inherit them. These are challenges that you inherit. But end of the day, I think what matters is how well you work. In the case of Telangana, coming back to the challenges of being a young state. In the case of Telangana, when it was formed, the expectation of the people of Telangana was sky high. What happens is, a Chhattisgarh or a Uttarakhand where the people weren't fighting or were wanting a state versus a state of Telangana where people were actually giving up their lives. We had young students immolating themselves, setting themselves up in fire, trying to make a point. We've had a gentleman called Yadi Reddy who traveled all the way to Delhi to commit suicide in front of Parliament. So this was an emotional battle. This was not a simple statehood battle. This was a battle where each and every person, who was fighting for the cause, took it to his heart, her heart, and actually really staked everything to make it happen. So what happens essentially when that is the mood prevalent? The expectations are high. So when we started as a young state, our Chief Minister said, the tagline of the movement for the state was justice in water resources, justice in fund allocation, and justice in employment. Neelu, Nidhulu, Niyamakalu, in Telugu if I have to put it. So this was the fundamental thing that we focused on. Back in 2014, when we started our journey, and most bureaucrats who are seated here, most economists who are seated here, or the journalists seated here would tell you, that for any government to start making plans, for any government to start working on something or working towards an outcome or a goal, you would need planning, of course, but planning can only happen in the presence or with the backing of good statistics. Mr. Joshi is here, he worked as our Chief Secretary. He would know, he would tell you. Mr. Tiwari is also here. Mr. Mishra is here, Ajay Mishra ji is also here. All of them worked with our Chief Minister very closely, and they would tell you. When the Honorable Chief Minister initially started laying out plans and he started saying planning is important, statistics is important, data is important, so get me accurate information, accurate data. And when we were trying to understand Where do I get this data? Unfortunately, there wasn't much available. You will be surprised when I say this, and I don't want to demean or insult anybody or, insult or, even cast aspersions on how the governments in the past were run, but the fact is, there wasn't enough data to make empirical, decisions, make sure that we work towards a specific outcome. But I'll give you examples. So I was a Minister for Rural Water Supply in 2014. I was Minister for Panchayati Raj and Rural Water Supply. So Honorable Chief Minister decided that we will become the first state in India, because he had done this in his constituency, Siddipet, back in late 90s. He had provided a potable drinking water connection to each and every home in his constituency. Almost, I think, about 50,000-60,000 households. And this was late 90s. So he said, if I could do that as a legislator in Siddipet, why can't I do the same thing as a Chief Minister across the state of Telangana? So he wanted me to get the data on the pipes laid in the rural, setting in the villages, number of overhead service reservoirs built, when were they built, which year were they built, the number of pipeline laid, what shape are they in, when were they laid, is there like a map, is there an inventory, etc., etc. So I sat with my team, my engineering department, my engineering chief, and the entire rural water supply department. You would not believe it if I said this. Honestly, they said, sir, the data goes only as back as 1980s. What happened prior to that, we really don't know, because there's no bookkeeping, there's no information, so I can't really give you that information. I'm just giving you this one example of one department where I worked. Even in Hyderabad, and you would be probably amused and I'd be trolled if I said this, but I'll say it. I've become thick-skinned, like I said. When we started looking at all the data of the Hyderabad Metro Water Supply and Sewerage Board, when were the pipes laid, what should be replaced and what should be strengthened, what should be laid afresh, etc. Unfortunately, again, the data only goes so far. We don't have adequate data. Leave all that aside. Some things are even more interesting. See, back in 1980s, when Sri N.T. Ramarao was the Chief Minister, the then government had launched a program called as Housing for the Weaker Sections. And since then, every successive government following N.T. Ramaraoji's footsteps had also continued the program, had built houses. So we just, for our own understanding in 2014, we looked at the number of houses that were built in the state of Telangana alone between N.T. Ramaraoji's time and KCRG's time. There were a number of chief ministers, number of governments between 83 and 2014, almost 31 years. You'll not believe this. According to the data available with the government back then in 2014, more than 65 lakh houses were built. The total population of the state itself is 3 crores. And 65 lakh houses have already been built. So our Chief Minister asked, then why would there be any new demand? Why are you saying there would be any more new demand at all? If this was all true and if this was all accurate and if the books were kept properly, how is this even right? So just to give you examples. So all of this was the situation when we started our journey in 2014. On top of this, each and every time there is a bifurcation. See, even in a household, a joint family, when there is a split, when they have 2 brothers split, who gets what, who gets to keep what, who gets to have the silverware, who gets to have, the debt, etc., etc. That's always a battle, right? So power, electricity was a huge challenge. I think Mishra ji worked as, the Special Chief Secretary for Power as well, so he would know. Who gets which project? Because, Telangana was predominantly consuming more power because we had 30 lakh plus tube wells, bore wells. So we had electricity dependent agriculture here. So we needed more power. Likewise, who gets the rightful share in water? In Godavari, Krishna. Because, like I said, when the 2 states split, prior to that we had Bachawat Tribunal. We've had other tribunals giving out allocations in river waters. But who gets to keep what in river water? Who gets to keep what in electricity? Who gets to keep what in the joint institutions, including possibly the one we are sitting in? So who gets to keep what and who gets to take what? I think that was one big challenge that we had to answer right at the onset. And on top of this, there were a number of promises made by the union government. In the Reorganization Act of the state, there were a number of promises made. There were promises to kickstart and jumpstart rapid industrialization, so therefore promised special incentives to industries and industrial corridors being set up in both states, Andhra and Telangana. There were promises of a steel factory being set up at Bayaram because there was enough iron ore, quality iron ore through Steel Authority of India. There was also a promise to set up a locomotive coach factory in Kajipet. There was a promise to make one of our projects, irrigation projects, a national project. There were several other promises that were also made as part of the State Reorganization Act. So the lack of data, the lack of clarity, the fight that goes on with respect to who gets what in terms of water, in terms of power, in terms of other resources, and more importantly, a very inimical, I'm not even saying a non-cooperative, uncooperative union government, but a very inimical, extremely negative union government, which does not believe in the spirit of federalism. They talk about Team India, cooperative federalism, but it's all lip service. They don't really believe in any of that. They'd want the hegemony of union government to continue. They'd want states to be at their mercy. They'd want to basically dominate you in every which way. That's the attitude. So this is the context of when we started our journey. So what did we do so far in 9 years? What did we accomplish? Since this is economics and since this is Abhay Tripathi Memorial Lecture, and Mr. Tripathi, I have learned, was a man of numbers and who worked on taxation, was brought in a number of reforms in the way the tax department used to work. So let me share with you a few numbers. Back in 2014, when we started our journey, our state's per capita was 1,12,000 rupees. But as of March 31st this year, in 2023, our state has the highest per capita in the country. It's 3,17,000. So starting from 112 to 317. The gross state domestic product of the state of Telangana back in 2014 was 5,05,000 crore. Now, as of March 31st this year, it is 13.27 lakh crore. Highest growth for any state in India. Likewise, I can give you a number of other sectors, but what's more important? How did you achieve this? How did this happen? Why are other states not doing it, etc., etc., are the typical questions that we keep running into. We stuck to the fundamentals. We focused on getting our basics right. We started our journey as a power deficit state. We had only 8,700 megawatts of installed capacity in the state of Telangana. Today, I'm proud to share with you, we have more than 18,000 megawatts of installed capacity, and it is going to grow up to almost 26,000 megawatts come next year. So we have started our journey as a power deficit state, but today we are a proud power surplus state, and eventually will be supplying power to other deficit states in days to come, years to come. Not only power, water. There is no other state in India which has done the kind of work that Telangana has done in water. Now, water, as we all know, is the elixir of life. It empowers everybody, irrespective of who you are. Today, why do we not find any habitation on Mars? Lack of water. Had there been water, I'm sure there would be real estate guys selling plots on Mars and Moon as well. I'm serious. I'm sure there are some people who are already doing that, because Telugus are now dominating Texas as well. I just came off a meeting from a guy from Texas. He was telling me that in Dallas we have 900 Indian restaurants and Telugus are literally ruling the roost, and we are doing real estate all over Texas as well. Water is the elixir of life. It really is what survives humanity. It really is what helps a city grow, a state grow, and a nation grow. So we have taken it very seriously to ensure that every trickle, every drop of water that is rightfully allocated to Telangana gets utilized properly and judiciously. So we have not only ensured that the 46,000 lakes and tanks in Telangana are given the much needed fillip through Mission Kakatiya. We have strengthened these lakes, tanks. We have done it in a mission mode and ensured that every drop of water that trickles in benefits not only that village, but the entire groundwater table around in the surrounding habitations as well. We also have ensured that not just these small resources, but also the large resources that we need, because River Godavari and Krishna run at a much lower, contour compared to the entire state of Telangana. Hyderabad as a city is at 535 meters above sea level. The highest mount in Telangana is at 650 meters, whereas Godavari runs at about 80-90 meters above sea level. So the only way we can actually, use this water and bring this water to our barren fields is by way of lifting them through multiple stages. That's exactly what we have done. People talk about China. People talk about Three Gorges and how well the Chinese work, how quickly they move, how quickly they get things done, etc., etc. But it's unfortunate that not many of us know. And I would appreciate it if you actually Google after you go home, or even now if you want. You can Google and you can just type in the world's largest lift irrigation project. It is in Telangana. The project is called Kaleshwaram, where we lift water from 80 meters above sea level all the way up to 618 meters. Now this project alone provides water for irrigation, water for farmers to about 45 lakh acres. It provides for drinking water needs of Hyderabad. It also has 15% earmarked for industrial consumption. And this is literally a lifeline for the entire northern part of Telangana. Likewise, we have another project ongoing called as Palamuru Rangareddy lift irrigation. Now this is another lifeline for the entire south of Telangana, southern Telangana, which reeled under tremendous drought, which reeled under tremendous distress, and which was actually a sort of a synonym for migration of workers, Palamuru especially, Mahbubnagar especially. But today with Palamuru Rangareddy lift irrigation, which almost has reached now the final lap, and we are looking to ensure that this project gets completed in the next few months, probably by October. Once that is done, you would see water flowing to about 12.5 lakh acres of land for one crop cycle if you take it, and if you take two crop cycles, it would be 25 lakh acres. Just to give you numbers again, since this is economics. Back in 2014, our total agriculture produce, we have our agriculture secretary also sitting here, Mr. Raghunandan Rao. Our total agriculture produce, and especially on paddy, we used to procure about 68 lakh metric tons of paddy in 2014. But as of this year, the procurement rose to 3.5 crore metric tons. Telangana was ranked number 24 among Indian states in paddy production. This year, we are ranked number 2, second only to Punjab. Number 1, I'm sorry, we are ranked number 1, surpassing Punjab. So we have literally become the rice bowl of India. So that is the transformation that this focus on water has helped. Not only have we become the first state in India to give a potable drinking water connection to each and every home, we have secured the water needs of Hyderabad city as well. Hyderabad drinking water needs have been taken care of till the year 2052 by way of bringing water from Krishna and Godavari. Of course, the dream is to improve. The dream is to come from alternate day supply to every day and ensure that eventually we get to a stage, where like the first world where you get 24/7 water as well. That's the dream. So water has been a very, very important subject, and we have done some amazing things, and we have inspired the nation. Today, after Telangana has completed Mission Bhagirath, Government of India has woken up after several years and has started a new project called as Har Ghar Jal, Jal Jeevan Mission, which is good because, we need to learn from each other. And now they've also embarked on this mission. Gujarat, I'm told, is also there. Goa, I'm told, also has completed 100%. Very proud. As an Indian, as a fellow Indian, as a citizen, I think nothing makes me more proud. Because I remember there was a time when I was a student, there was a saying. People used to say, what Bengal does today, India does tomorrow. Today I can stand here proudly and say what Telangana does today, India does tomorrow. And that is what has been the hallmark of this government. Not only in water. We have done exceptionally well in making sure that even fiscal prudence has been taken into account. A lot of people accuse us of a lot of things. But I can tell you with a lot of confidence, the way we have leveraged the economy, the way the GSDP kept growing, the way the per capita kept growing, has given us scope to raise debt. Has given us scope to raise debt and invest in infrastructure. A lot of people, make a hue and cry, especially the opposition in my state. Every day they keep making a point, or trying to keep making a point, that you've made the state a debt-ridden state. Let me tell you a quick example. There was a time, I am 47, which called me young, but I'm not young at all. In fact, I'm going through a midlife crisis as we speak. There was a time in my prior generation, or in my father's generation, so if I have to put it more succinctly, where the thinking used to be, even if you're a bureaucrat, the thinking used to be, by the time I retire from my service, I should be able to have a house in Prashasan Nagar or wherever you can afford, and maybe build a house And by the time I retire, I move from a government bungalow, government quarter. I go to, go and retire into a house of my own. That was the thinking. But take a step back and think for a minute. That was the thinking of the prior generation, where people used to be hesitant even to raise a debt. But today, a young guy or a young girl gets a new job in the IT sector here in Hyderabad or Bangalore. What is the first thing they do? They actually pay a fat check. They take a fat paycheck, go to the bank, raise a loan, buy a home, buy a car, in the very first month or second month. So what changed? What changed is this thinking of the typical Indian thinking that there was, say, a few decades ago, that we have to save pie by pie, पैसा पैसा जोड़ के, ultimately एक घर खरीदना है. तेलुगु में एक कहावत है, क्योंकि ज़्यादातर लोग यहाँ तेलुगु समझते हैं इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ. इल्लू कट्टी चूड़ू, पेल्ली चेसी चूड़ू. मतलब ये हुआ कि घर बना के देखो, शादी करके देखो. दोनों भी बहुत जिंदगी में बहुत मतलब टफ चैलेंजेस है. ये कहावत थी, इसीलिए कहावत वहां से आई. सवाल ये था कि किसी आदमी को अगर अपना मकान बनाना था, एक घर बनाना था, क्यों उसको मतलब 50 साल पैसा एक एक पैसा जोड़ के बनाना होता था? क्योंकि हमारी माइंडसेट, हमारी कल्चर ऐसी थी, कंडीशनिंग ऐसी थी कि भाई कुछ भी करो बट कर्ज मत उठाओ, कुछ भी करो, जिंदगी में किसी के आभारी नहीं रहना है, कुछ भी करो, बचपन से सिखाया जाता है. बट द फैक्ट इज, if you look at most developed countries in the world, who do we think are the most developed countries in the world? The United States, Germany, US, China and Japan. Just look at US. Their debt GDP ratio is 116%. The debt GDP ratio of Japan is more than 200%. The debt GDP ratio of India as a country is 59%. The debt GDP ratio of Telangana is 25%. My point is, if you look at 28 states in India and rank them on a debt GSDP ranking, we are ranked in the top, bottom 5. Ranked in the bottom 5. If you ask me, we haven't leveraged our economy enough. What matters is you raise a debt, but where do you invest it? If you raise a debt and invest into ramping up your power infrastructure, moving from a power deficit state to a power sufficient or power surplus state, would that be a wrong investment? Would that not attract more industry? Would that not attract more and more investment? Would that not create more wealth? If you actually invest, if you raise a debt and invest in drinking water needs of the state, are you not cutting down on the out-of-pocket expenditure for health? Are you not cutting down on all the typical news that you would see in a winter season or a rainy season, at the onset of a monsoon? In Telugu, every newspaper used to write, I remember as a kid, Mansam Pattina Manyam, agency lo anturogalu, matlab infectious diseases, waterborne diseases, which were rampant in the agency areas and tribes and even the habitations, rural habitations. Just with one project called Mission Bhagirath, where we invested 40,000 plus crores, today we've been able to take care of all of that healthcare concerns. We've been able to cut down out-of-pocket expenditure for our people, and we've done a magnificent job of becoming truly an aspirational state for the rest of India. Likewise, when we took a project loan and have committed and invested in a project like Kaleshwaram, which, as Richa said, has created wealth outside of Hyderabad, because she was pointing out this lopsided development or lopsided focus on Hyderabad, does it help in the long run? No, it doesn't. Of course you have to decentralize. Of course you have to industrialize in other pockets. Of course you have to focus on rural livelihoods. Of course you have to create avenues to create wealth outside of Hyderabad. Unless you do that, people are going to migrate, people are going to urbanize, people are going to suburbanize. That is a fact. So what have we done with that money that we have raised as a debt? Where did we invest? We have invested in power, infrastructure, not power for us, but power infrastructure. We have invested in drinking water infrastructure. We have invested in infrastructure for irrigation. We have invested in industrial infrastructure. After having invested in these rural areas, let me give you an example of what we've accomplished. If somebody was to ask me today, what is the Telangana model? If you have to define in one sentence, I will tell you. Telangana model is unique, it's holistic, it's integrated, it's inclusive, it's balanced. In Telugu, if I have to put it, Samagra, Samikrita, Sammilita, Samatulya Abhiruddhi, Telangana sadinchindi. Yatla antara, if you ask me, what do you mean, are these all fancy fluff words? Can you back it up? I'll tell you how. I just told you that our agri exports have risen. Our agri expansion has happened by more than 119%. 68 lakh metric tons to 3.5 crore metric tons of production of paddy and procurement. That has happened on one side in the rural areas. On the other side in Hyderabad, our IT exports were 56,000 crore. And as of this year, it is 2.41 lakh crore. The number of people working in technology in Hyderabad was 323,000, 3,23,000. As of this year, it's 9,05,000. We have quadrupled our IT exports. We have also done exceedingly well on agri exports and agri expansion. That's a balanced model. We are less than 3% of India in terms of population. We are only 2.5% of India, in fact, if I have to be precise. But we win 30% of the awards when it comes to national Panchayati awards or national municipality awards. Is that not proof enough that urban development and rural development are going hand in hand in a very unique way in Telangana? Also, let me add, industrialization has been rampant, as Richa mentioned. We've been able to attract marquee investments through TSI pass and a number of things that we do. But not only has industry grown, environment has not suffered. Typically, all around the world, you would see industry growing and therefore, as a consequence, environment suffering. That has not happened in Telangana. Industry has been growing rapidly, but environmental consciousness of the leader of the state, of our chief minister, is laudable because under his leadership, today, we are the state which has grown the maximum in terms of green cover, 7.7%. 5,13,000 acres of new forest has been created in the state of Telangana, unlike any other state in India. So this is the balanced model I'm talking about. And this is the inclusive society. We have not discriminated anybody. It could be a migrant, it could be a person from rural background or an urban background, or no matter where they are from, which part of India they are from, or which part of the world they are from. They've all been made to welcome. I keep saying this and I can't say it enough. Those of you who cover me are probably tired of hearing this, but nevertheless, let me say it. I tell all the investors that I meet, that Hyderabad is that melting pot. Because you mentioned migrants, Richa. Hyderabad is that melting pot. Hyderabad is that point of confluence where the north of India meets the south of India. जब कोई हैदराबाद में एक बिहार से या उत्तर प्रदेश से कोई आदमी आता है, उसको ऐसा नहीं लगता है कोई और किसी और के घर आए. आपको ये लगेगा चेन्नई में, कोई चेन्नई वाले हैं तो गाली मत दो. पर थोड़ा चेन्नई में थोड़ा आपको महसूस होगा. विजयवाड़ा में भी होगा, सवांग साहब यहाँ पे हैं, उनको पता है. विजयवाड़ा में भी होगा थोड़ा, बट यहाँ पे नहीं होगा. Because everybody feels at home. In fact, growing up, I remember Hyderabad was one unique place where when two strangers met, we used to start off in Hindi. अभी तो ज़्यादा तेलुगु हो गया, but इससे पहले पूरा हिंदी चलता था. क्योंकि दो स्ट्रेंजर अगर अजनबी मिलते थे, तो हमारी बात शुरुआत होती थी हिंदी में या उर्दू में, दक्खनी उर्दू, which we are very well known for. Let me also tell you, it is not just a place where north of India meets the south of India. It is also a place where opportunity meets talent. It's a place where dosa meets paratha. It's a place where data sciences meets life sciences. It's a place where technology meets biology. That is why Hyderabad is attractive, and that is why we have to keep it intact in the cosmopolitan fabric that you touched upon. It was imperative that we remain inclusive. We didn't focus on the nonsense that others seem to be hell-bent on, focusing on. Yes, India has many issues. We are a pluralistic society, we are a culturally very, very diverse society, and we are a very, very opinionated society also. हर किसी का अपना opinion है, very strong opinion है, जानता हूँ. But why can't we focus on getting our basics right? जब हिंदुस्तान में basic चीज नहीं है, बिजली नहीं है, सड़क नहीं है, पानी नहीं है, और कई सारे problem हैं, उसको छोड़ के यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड पे लगे हैं. कोई और किसी और चीज पे लगा है, हलाल पे, हिजाब पे, बकवास पे. हम बस यही चाहते हैं, हमने ये किया 9 साल में. We focused on none of this. We made sure that the basics that concern all of us as humans, cutting across our divides and everything else that divides us, the religion, the caste, the sex, the gender barriers, the geographical barriers and other things, we did not focus on any of that. We focused on what unites us. We focused on the lowest common denominator, and we got that right. I can give you a number of examples on why, because when Prime Minister comes here to visit Telangana, Prime Minister जब आए थे 2014 में, क्योंकि आपने कोऑपरेटिव फेडरलिज्म की और स्टेट और सेंटर की रिलेशन की आपने जिक्र की, तो मैं बोलना चाहता हूं, हमें भी कुछ उम्मीद थे उनसे. 2014 में जब प्रधानमंत्री बने, we were hopeful कि मोदी जी पता नहीं गुजरात में क्या क्या कुछ करके आए हैं, कुछ एक मॉडल था, एक नमूना था, देश को उन्होंने दिखाया था कि गुजरात में कुछ चमत्कार उन्होंने कर दिया तो पूरा देश में भी चमत्कार हो जाएगा, कुछ अद्भुत हो जाएगा, कुछ मिराक्युलस हो जाएगा। हमें भी उम्मीद था, जैसे सारे हिंदुस्तान को था। But when we started seeing through things, and we supported him, let me tell you, we supported him on a number of things, and some of which we regret, of course. Demonetization, we supported him. Our chief minister called him, he said, what is this decision? Why did you do it? Why are you doing this, I mean, ad hoc, all of a sudden, random thing? Why did you do it? He said, हमें संपूर्ण क्रांति की तरफ चलना है, मुझे डिजिटल इस पे चलना है, और मैं आपको उम्मीद देता हूं कि मैं काम करूंगा. This was what he told our chief minister. So we supported demonetization. When he said one nation, one tax, we supported him. We supported him on a number of other things. When he made Venkaiah Naidu ji our vice president, we supported him, we voted for him. We voted for President Ramnath Kovind as well. हमने तो उनका जितना मदद करना था उतना किया, बट उन्होंने क्या किया? एक नया राज्य जो बना तेलंगाना, इसको ना सिर्फ एक बार भी, मतलब he has not even kept one promise that was made in the act, in the parliament. Not even, those promises that have been made, but even the recommendations made by a planning body like Niti Aayog, unfortunately have been completely rejected and negated. Niti Aayog has made a categorical recommendation saying Mission Bhagirath is a fantastic program and that needs to be supported by Government of India. So please grant a sum of rupees 19,000 to the state of Telangana, 19,000 crore to the state of Telangana. Prime Minister and his cabinet did not heed to that advice. Then Niti Aayog also recommended that Mission Kakatiya is a brilliant program. Please allocate and give a grant of rupees 5,000 crore. Again negated, not a single word of appreciation. Prime Minister तो बोलते हैं मन की बात में काफी कुछ बोलते हैं, वोकल फॉर लोकल बोलते हैं, काफी कुछ बोलते हैं, बट पता नहीं क्यों, बट परफॉर्मिंग स्टेट को रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं करना चाहते हैं, फॉर पेटी पॉलिटिकल कंसिडरेशंस, आई प्रिज्यूम. When his own state in India, of which he is the Prime Minister, builds the world's largest lift irrigation project, this Prime Minister does not have the dignity to compliment the state for its brilliant efforts. Now what more do I say about this Prime Minister and this government? So we have no hope of this union government, and we certainly will take them on, and we will ensure that he is voted out at any cost in the next election at the hustlings. Having said that, we did not depend on the union government, or we did not depend on any of their endowments towards the state of Telangana. We have struggled, we have endeavored, we have moved on. We did not look at them at all. In fact, that's why, let me give you a few examples of what we've accomplished. In fact, we are the best rural development model in India with 100% ODF plus villages. Only state that can boast of this. Again, first state to have provided drinking water to all homes and inspired Jal Jeevan mission. We are the state in India that has completed the world's largest lift irrigation project, Kaleshwaram project. We're the first highest paddy producer in India now, surpassing Punjab, moving from 24th rank to first rank. And now let me also tell you something that might be staggering for those of you who are not connected to the technology world. Last 2 years in a row, we have surpassed Bangalore in creation of technology jobs. Last year, out of the total technology jobs created in India, this is not my data, this is NASSCOM's data. You can cross-check, you can verify. Out of the total technology jobs created in India, 33% were from Hyderabad, followed by Bangalore. But this year, it's even more impressive. Out of the total tech jobs created in India, 44% of the jobs were created from Hyderabad and Telangana. Literally, 1 in every second job that is created in India comes from this brilliant city and brilliant state called Telangana. Let me also tell you, highest green cover growth in India for any state, 7.7%, creation of 5,13,000 hectares of new forest. We are also a top contributor to India's GDP. In fact, like I said, we are 2.5% of India's population, but our contribution to GDP is 5%. We literally punch double our weight. कभी-कभी एक बार मैं देखता हूं कि निर्मला सीतारामन जी आके आती है, आके बोलती हैं कि हम देने वाले हैं, हम दे रहे हैं, हमने ये दिया, वो दिया. बहुत दुख पहुंचता है. क्योंकि if you go look at the constitution, India is a union of states. And when we have this representative of a federal government coming here and telling us कि हमने आपको कुछ दे दिया, जैसा कि आपने हमें कुछ भी किया, ऐसा कुछ दिया, एक फकर के साथ, एक गर्व के साथ जब कहते हैं, बहुत गुस्सा भी आता है, बहुत ठेस भी पहुंचती है. क्योंकि fact is, Telangana gives more to the country than it gets. For every rupee that we contribute, we get only 46 paisa back. And when we point this, we are called, बहुत सारे name calling होती है, उसमें मैं नहीं जाना चाहता, but बहुत सारे चीज बोलते हैं. The fact is, we contribute more to the nation than what we get back from Delhi. Let me also tell you, we are ranked number 3 in India on the ease of doing business. We are certainly the state with the best industrial policy in India. We are home to India's largest textile park, the Kakatiya Mega Textile Park, by the way, which inspired PM Mitra recently. हमने 2017 में चालू किया था काकतिया मेगा टेक्सटाइल पार्क, और भारत सरकार अभी उठ के आई नींद से और पीएम मित्रा उन्होंने लॉन्च किया, अच्छी बात है. We are vaccine hub of the world. We produce 1/3 of human vaccines. We produce 900 crore vaccines from Hyderabad. Prime Minister साहब बोलते रहते हैं बीच-बीच में कि India is a pharmacy of the world, but he forgets to mention the word Telangana and Hyderabad. उनको याद नहीं आता, but मैं याद दिलाना चाहता हूं कि 40% pharmaceuticals भारत के हैदराबाद से आते हैं, और 33% of vaccines in the world also come from here. We are the second largest renewable energy producer in India. From a mere 50 megawatts, Ajay Mishra ji will know this well. In 2014, we now produce more than 5,000 megawatts of renewable energy. And if you look at us by land mass, we are the number 1 state in India with respect to renewable energy. We are also the state which is the only state in India which is going to have a medical college and a medical hospital, a government super specialty hospital, in each and every district in the country. And this, again, with zero support from Government of India. We also have a number of other things that I can tell you, but the last thing I'll tell you, अगर कहते हैं कि अगर किसी को बताना है आपको जाके बाहर कि तेलंगाना ने क्या किया, तो आप उनको बस ये बोल दें कि अगर बाकी का भारत भी, the other 27 states in India, if they performed as well as we did, we would have been a 5 trillion economy already and not languishing at 3.4 trillion, as is the case today. So all of this has happened despite COVID, despite the challenges of being a young state, despite many things that were working against us, including an inimical union government. But I'm proud that, our state has done well. But I'm not going to make a tall claim and say that, we've matched the US or Japan or any of these first world countries. We have a long way to go. But certainly, relatively speaking, we are the best performing state in India, no matter what parameter you look at. Education, health, any social development indices, any parameter that you take, we are the best performing state. And I'm a proud partner in the growth story of this state. And I hope and I pray that, the lecture that is being organized today in memory of Sri Abhay Tripathi, and for all of those who have attended here, I hope this was informative. I hope this was a few things for you to pick up and probably spread the good word. Thank you. Jai Telangana.
Thank you, Minister. My father would definitely have appreciated your candidness, and I think we're taking away that good economics is good politics. I would like to invite Mr. Ravikant Reddy to moderate the next part of the program, which is an open house question-answer session. There are 4 members of the organizing team in the audience with mics. So if you have questions for the minister, do raise your hand. Mr. Reddy will recognize you and you can pose your questions to him.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Minister, for the wonderful lecture. Minister has just 30 minutes because he has an urgent meeting to attend. So we'll take questions from the audience as well as people who are watching us online. Before that, I would like to start with an anecdote. In 2006, I was covering a program at Arts College as a reporter. It was a Telangana agitation, a program related to Telangana agitation. And there were lots of guys sitting on the stage. I was just one among the audience. And when I turned back, there were a lot of people hanging around one handsome young man sitting in the audience. And when I asked who was that, something, then they said he's son of Mr. K. Chandrasekhar Rao. And nobody knew him at that time. So I just went and introduced myself. I said, sir, I'm Ravikant Reddy from the Hindu. I just gave my card. In fact, I wrote a small piece also in the Hindu at that time, that how Mr. KCR's son has entered into Telangana politics. But he could have sat on the stage itself on that day, being the son of Mr. Chandrasekhar, who was leading the agitation. So that was, being a young man, though he has just revealed his age as 47, he was 30 at that time. He's still young and is the leading light of the youngest state in the country. Thank you very much, sir. And we'd like to take questions from the audience first. The minister actually, I always see him in bluish and grayish colors because maybe he likes that color. So we'll take a question from any lady who is wearing that color to start with. Anyone? Yeah.
Ready, sir. Yes, sir.
Any lady? Yeah, I think, yeah, she's, please.
Thank you so much for that. After this state economics lecture, I'm going to get a home economics lecture because you said, ghar dekho and shadi karke dekho. My mother made eye contact with me. So thank you for that.
The trick when you speak in front of your parents is always never look their way. Always look the other side.
I couldn't avoid. But a very intriguing question that you've actually raised in your speech was vis-a-vis center-state relations. And I'm very curious to sort of understand the center-state relationship vis-a-vis finances and public finances, because here's the thing. State development also is a high revenue contributor to the sort of state exchequer of India, and not necessarily GDP, and that obviously looks at India's development. And I'm very curious to understand if there is sort of state policy that you would sort of take on to develop center-state relationships, or you think that it is something that the center should take on and involve as a part of their political agenda.
Well, thank you. Great question. If I understood it correctly, is it audible? Yeah. If I understood it correctly, I think, when Prime Minister Modi, before 2014, as we all know, he was a successful chief minister of 3 consecutive terms from Gujarat. A lot of times in digital world, what happens is your past really catches up with you. So what happens is when Prime Minister Modi, when he talks about something vis-a-vis a state or an institution, typically my team and a lot of other teams also dig up what he had said when he was the chief minister. So for instance, today you see the governors interfering in a big way, especially in non-BJP states. The governors literally have become an impediment to growth. That's what they've become, the hurdles. You send a bill from a democratically elected assembly in the state, governor gets to sit on it forever without any valid reason or no rhyme, no reason. Prime Minister Modi, when he was the chief minister, said, Sarkariya Commission ke sifaris amal karo, or active politician ko kabhi politics mein mat ghasito. But what happens in Telangana? The BJP president of Tamil Nadu, till today, becomes the governor of Telangana next day. What happens as a result? Politics will also spread to Raj Bhavan. Raj Bhavan will start working as an extension. And when this happens, the acrimony that typically tends to come in is but unavoidable. Having said that, there are occasions, when we have to raise above petty political considerations and basically stand up, with the union government and, give them the much needed support, etc. For example, what happened yesterday in Manipur was horrible, horrific, and anybody who has a heart or, who really feels as a human was put to shame, and we had to hang our heads in shame. These are occasions when you would want to shed any ambivalence and stand with government of India. Say, also there are sometimes, there are tensions on the border. You would want to stand with them and say, okay, we as Indians, India comes first. Of course we ought to do that. There are earthquakes, natural disasters. So we all have to raise above petty political considerations and work with them. But same spirit also has to be exhibited by government of India. See, the fundamental thing we all need to understand is, Bharat hai kya? 28 राज अगर है तो कुल मिला के भारत है. ऐसा नहीं है कि मोदी साहब के लिए कोई और राज है. He is administering the same country that we are all living in. So the same state that is being administered by Sri KTR as the chief minister, Modi ji is also the prime minister of that. So the fact is, the stronger the states are, the stronger the country is. The more you empower them, the more you decentralize, the more better it is. But also it is a fact that, each person, जब मैं ये सब कुछ बोल रहा हूँ, decentralize करो, ये करो, वो करो, अगर मुझे ले जाके वहाँ बिठाओ, तो मैं भी शायद बदल जाऊंगा, मैं भी बोलूंगा पूरा सेंट्रलाइज करो. शायद it's a role problem and not the person problem. But if India has to grow, if India really has to move up and achieve that first world ambition that has been laid out so explicitly by every Prime Minister, I think we have no choice but to confine our elections to a certain window. एक साल पॉलिटिक्स करो, 4 साल इकोनॉमिक्स पे ध्यान दो, तब जाके कुछ काम होगा, वरना नहीं होगा.
Okay, the next question.
Thank you, Ravikant Reddy sir. This is Dr. Ramesh Kanniganti. Sir, what an young, dynamic, and then very impactful minister you have been. I have been observing it, sir, for the last decade. The state of Telangana people are so lucky to have you as a brand ambassador.
Let the question be
yes,
brief.
I'm coming.
Yeah,
Sir, I have to tell you this adjective because I have been waiting for this to tell you, sir. Maybe I chose this occasion.
Sir, నేను మీకు అసెంబ్లీ టికెట్ ఇవ్వలేను సార్.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I'm an academic, sir. I'm an academic. So, I run a think tank on Center for Human Security Studies. Ravikant Reddy, sir, you know it. Telangana, I have been watching for the last few years. Freedom from want, freedom from fear, freedom to live with dignity are the cornerstones of human security, which is exactly evident in the state of Telangana. This I have been observing, sir, without being any exaggerative in my observation.
Thank you, Ramesh Garu. Thank you so much. Very kind of you to say that. Like I said, we have been a very inclusive government. One of the things, I have to share this anecdotal experience of mine with you. As soon as the state was formed, like I said, there were a lot of apprehensions. So I was invited to an event at the film industry, Producers Council. So when I was going there, I asked the Chief Minister, I said, sir, what should I be saying to allay any fears, allay any apprehensions that they might have? What should I say? He simply said one thing. He said, ask these guys to stop thinking about being a Telugu film industry. Ask them, whether they have it in them to become a South Asian, hub for South Asia, to make Hyderabad a hub for South Asia. Yes. So that was his perspective all along. So he always told me, and told all of us, all of my colleagues as well, he said, once the state becomes a reality, then people are going to ask you for development. People are going to ask you to fulfill all the promises you've made on water, on funds, on employment, on everything else that you've put out in your manifesto. So he said, focus on that. Don't focus on anything that divides us, but focus on everything that unites us. And that's exactly what we have done, and thank you for your kind words.
So the food, the
Yeah,
health,
okay,
the
Ramesh, I
water-
think there were a lot of people waiting.
Okay, okay.
So before the mic goes to that lady, there's a question online. Someone can, please, yeah. The question coming from Delhi, sir, from Business Line, Mr. Srivats. This question is, as a young state, how do you plan to ensure that you get a fair share of central tax devolution in the years to come to supplement states' own resources for development? Is there a case to redefine the tax devolution formula and relook at the criteria underlying it?
See, tax devolution is a constitutional right. I don't think the center is doing us any favors by actually bestowing on us, what we are owed as per constitution. So what we get today is nothing but, a constitutional right of ours. Besides this, because Richa mentioned cess, I have to tell you this. She said cess. Let me help you understand this one, teeny weeny bit which might have missed your observation. Back in 2014, when Prime Minister Modi took office in Delhi, the price of crude oil per barrel, let me remind you, was about $100. But the price of petrol was about 70 rupees. The price of diesel was, I think, about 65 or 60, I don't remember exactly. But the price of crude oil was around $100. But now, 8 years later, the price of crude oil, of course, it keeps wavering every day, but now, on an average, if you look at the last 3 months, it's around $60. What happened to the fuel prices? They're around 115 in Telangana, 112 in Karnataka, 100 somewhere else, 100 and odd something in some other place. What happened? What happened is, Government of India came out with this 2 additional cess, additional excise duty, and a cess that has been imposed on us. And let me tell you, we do not get anything out of this cess. The states are denied their rightful share. Because of these cesses, these additional excise duties, we do not get anything that we are supposed to get. Had it been another form of tax, we would have had that 41% devolution that you just mentioned. But they're denying us, depriving us this, and they've garnered more than 35 lakh crores now in the last 6 years to the union kitty. And they've not really, opened their purse strings to any of the states. So this is a fact. These are the things that they've resorted to. While they said, 10% हमने बढ़ा दिया devolution. But क्या किया? अलग-अलग तरीका ढूंढ निकाला. जिसमें से पैसा कैसे काटना है, राज को कैसे सताना है, उसका एक तरकीब निकाला। आज जब हम लोग बोलते हैं मोदी जी को कि सर जब 100 रुपया बैरल था, एक क्रूड ऑयल बैरल था, 70 रुपए का पेट्रोल था पूरा देश में, आज 115 110 है, तो क्यों ना आप पूरे देश में सेस स्क्रैप करो, एक्साइज ड्यूटी स्क्रैप करो, क्यों ना फिर 70 रुपए में देंगे। मुझे इतना ट्रोलिंग होता है इस बात पे, लोग बोलते हैं कि पहले तुम अपने राज में तो करो। मतलब क्या हुआ? आप स्क्वीज करोगे आप और कम करें हम, ये कहां की रीत है? सो यूल कंटिन्यू टू पिंच द पीपल ऑफ दिस कंट्री एंड यू वांट द स्टेट्स टू get penalized for it. You want the states to actually dry off their coffers and again bleed. And you know what happens is effectively when the state starts bleeding, Modi ji will come here and give a lecture, भाषण की, देखिए इनको चलाने नहीं आता, पूरा राज को बर्बाद कर दिया. So this is their agenda. They squeeze you, they strangle you, and then they come and tell you that these guys are not performing. So point is, 100% the constitutional right which is owed to every state, अगर उसको तो देना ही देना है, उसमें कोई चारा नहीं है उनके पास. साथ ही साथ अगर भारत को आगे बढ़ना है, we need to start looking at radically leveraging our economy. Today in Hyderabad Metro, we have Canadian pensioners' money here. Canada Pension Fund invests in Hyderabad Metro. Where is Indian pensioners' money? कोई बैंक में, कोई एफडी में बैठा है, 30 लाख करोड़ बैठा है वहां पे. भारत जैसे देश को अगर आगे बढ़ना है, do we not need this money to invest in infrastructure? You know, there's a great saying of President John F. Kennedy that I would like all of you to dwell on for a bit. I read this for the first time when I landed in the US. John F. Kennedy very, very famously said, America does not have good infrastructure, does not have good infrastructure because it is rich. America is rich because it has good infrastructure. So it is incumbent upon us to understand that investments into infrastructure, power, roads, ports, airports, seaports, all of these are essential if you have to move up to the second world and the first world league. And unless Government of India really works with us. See, for instance, if we have to, have inland waterways happen all the way to Bhadrachalam, Richa said we are landlocked. There is only so much you can do. She said, no, we can do more. We can bring a vessel all the way up to Bhadrachalam, to the border of Telangana, provided Union government facilitates and works with Andhra and Telangana governments and invest together. We can actually reduce the transportation cost. We can create more industries. But can this happen with Prime Minister Modi? He'll want to take everything to Gujarat or Uttar Pradesh because that's where all the assembly or parliament seats which are voting for him are. Unfortunately, that's how it's been.
I will take a question from that lady. Let the question be brief, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Very brief. Brand KTR Garu and brand Telangana are synonymous.
Thank you, ma'am.
Whether it is 1 minute, 5 minutes or 45 minutes, it's always a privilege to listen to you.
Kind of.
Having said that, I work in public health and I have seen how a flood was monitored, including switching off the electricity. The poles were monitored and the last mine was taken care of by the state so that nobody got electrocuted. The question from you is, or you didn't touch on the communications that you did present throughout Telangana. You didn't touch on what you have done for youth and skilling in Telangana. Would you want to share that?
Absolutely, ma'am. Great question. But because Richa gave me only 40 minutes, I figured I'll squeeze in as much as I can. See, we also created an institution called as TASK in Telangana, called as Telangana Academy for Skills and Knowledge, through which, in fact, on the 8th of July, we celebrated the World Skills Day as well. Unfortunately, I missed the event. But this institution has been working superbly because we've trained so far more than 800,000 kids. And we work with number of colleges, we work with number of training partners. Because, a lot of our youngsters, no matter where they come from, which part of Telangana or India they come from, or even Andhra they come from, they do have the information, they do have the knowledge, the wealth of information that is required. But when it comes to presenting it, the soft skills, the communication skills, that's where they typically lack. So we've sort of set this up as a finishing school, and it has been doing really well. But of course, there's plenty more to do. In fact, one of the things I firmly believe is, in life, especially as it gets more and more competitive, the only way you can stay up to date and relevant is by skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. And that applies to all of us, bureaucrats, politicians, students, employers, employees. I think all of us, unless we upgrade ourselves, unless we upskill ourselves, there's no choice. So we are constantly looking to partner and create more centers of excellence. We're in the process of setting up a life sciences university. We're also in the process of setting up an aviation university, nascent stages, but we'll also do that. We're also in the process of setting up a university focused on sustainable mobility. So all of this, I mean, education plus skill building and capacity building is something that we have tried to do as much as we can, but there's plenty more to do, I assure you, and we'll stay focused on that. Thank you, ma'am.
We'll take a question from Pooja, who has come all the way from Delhi. Can someone pass on the mic to Pooja?
Have I hurt your Delhi sensibilities?
Not at
I
all.
hope I have.
Not at all. Congratulations, Minister, on being a very high-performing state. I have to confess, I didn't know as much about your state, so your lecture has been very informative for me. My question is that you very rightly have a lot of, let's say, complaints against Delhi and the treatment given by Delhi and basically the central government to even high-performing states such as yours. From what I understand, you said that it is probably the nature of center-state relations that leads to something like this. It isn't the personality, because you said that if you were in this position, perhaps you would also be sitting from there.
I think the position changes. One is what I was going to.
Right. So my question is that given you're such a high-performing state, given additional resources which are your due, which you should get, can help you perform even better and do more for your people. Is there, and perhaps there are more states who have similar concerns, do you see scope for or need for some sort of an institutional platform for the states to get together and take up issues with the center? Because just waiting for an electoral cycle to be completed and change faces, or perhaps hope for a coalition where regional parties or smaller states have more voice and bargaining power, an institutional mechanism may work. Now, traditionally, we have had certain institutional mechanisms and people have had issues with them, rightly so. They have not lived up to the expectations. There's always scope for improvement, etc. But given what you have described, without even the central government support, you've done a lot. You can perhaps do a lot more. What is the solution to this other than just waiting for an electoral cycle to perhaps create scope for a coalition government where you get a more political voice?
Well, you know, there's a word in Constitution called as tyranny of majority. You know, sometimes what happens is when you have a brute power, you have bulldozing numbers in Parliament or GST Council, you just get bulldozed. And I mean, bulldozer राज का तो आपको जानते हो, दिल्ली में आपको तो आपके एकदम बगल में चल रहा है. तो बुलडोजिंग मेजॉरिटी जो आज हिंदुस्तान में है, कभी का एक बार शायद वो अच्छा नहीं है, क्योंकि हम लोग पहले से ये मानते थे कि coalition governments probably are not stable, so therefore they are not right. So, you know, one party getting full majority may be a good thing, but looking at what's happening 9 years in India, I mean, even before that, if I may add, I mean, not just 9 years, but even before that, I'd like to say that one party which has always had complete majority has not been able to deliver justice for everybody, so to speak. I'll give you 2 examples. You know, Hyderabad is one city which has got a number of defense public sector undertakings, including President Abdul Kalam. He worked here for 12 years as part of the missile development program. And there's a number of institutions. Even current advisor to government for Minister of Defense is Dr. Satish Reddy, who's also from Hyderabad. So when this concept of defense industrial production corridor was being mooted, the defense minister then was Nirmala ji. So I approached the union government with a lot of hope, saying, ma'am, Hyderabad and Bangalore. Bangalore is where HAL is, a number of other institutions are, and Hyderabad has a number of such institutions. So to give much needed boost to the existing ecosystem, this would be an ideal location. She said no. I said no, मतलब कुछ बात करेंगे आप या चर्चा करेंगे, ऐसा कुछ होगा, कोई बैठक बुलाएंगे, कुछ होगा? She said no, the decision is already made. I said on what grounds? She said we have made the decision, the union cabinet has decided. I said where is it decided? She said Bundelkhand. I said what the hell is there in Bundelkhand that you want to go and set it up there? She said what do you mean? I said yeah, what is there? Is there like a factory? Is there a defense public sector undertaking? What is there that you would want to attract the world to Bundelkhand and set it up, other than the fact that they have number of parliament seats which are voted for BJP? What is there? She said, no, these are not political considerations. You have to understand, you have to look at the bigger picture. So Hyderabad is developed, so you don't want other parts to develop. Is that what it is? I said, no, but you have to understand that if you have to catch the early worm, you have to move fast, and therefore existing ecosystem matters. she wouldn't get it. Same has been the mode with every single minister that I've dealt with in Government of India. They think that they know it all. With this they know it all mindset, I know it all mindset, things are not going to work. अगर आप किसी और की सुनना नहीं चाहते हो, किसी और के साथ बैठ के बात नहीं करना चाहते हो, कुछ नहीं होना है आगे जाके. पीयूष गोयल आए थे एक बार यहाँ पे. हमने एक इंडोर मीटिंग बुलाई, ऑल इंडिया मेडिकल डिवाइसेस मैन्युफैक्चरर्स एसोसिएशन. As part of this meeting, Piyush gave a very nice lecture on how nationalism should take center stage and how सभी मैन्युफैक्चरर्स को यहाँ पे हर कुछ करना चाहिए, हम लोग 80% बाहर से इंपोर्ट करते हैं. It was indoor meeting, no press, so none of them could report anything. So one of the manufacturers got up. They said, "Sir, but एक बात आपसे कहते हैं." मैंने कहा क्या? बोले कि मैं आज अगर चाइना में ग्लव खरीदता हूँ, मास्क खरीदता हूँ और इंपोर्ट करता हूँ हजारों मैल, तब भी वो सस्ता पड़ता है यहाँ बनाने से. मैं क्या करूँ बताओ आप? आपने कहा अच्छी बात है, भारत के हो, भारत के लिए बनाओ, ठीक है, बट अगर वहां से लाता हूं तो सस्ता पड़ता है, आपके इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी, रॉ मटेरियल लाने में इतना मतलब जो अड़चने हैं, इसको हटाओ, इस पे ध्यान दो. ही वुडंट लिसन, ही वुड से नहीं नहीं नहीं, क्या कह रहे हो आप, सोचो भारत की तरह सोचो. ठीक है यार, हम सभी इंडियन हैं, कौन कह रहा है कि हम कोई और देश से हैं, हम सभी चाहते हैं कि भारत तरक्की करे. द पॉइंट आई एम ट्राइंग टू मेक इज, आई नो इट ऑल माइंडसेट डज नॉट वर्क. See, we've had institutions like Planning Commission and Niti Aayog precisely for this. But we haven't sat with Niti Aayog in the last 4 years. We said, we refused any meeting with Niti Aayog. Our Chief Minister said, there's no point in meeting these fellows. They were very insulted. They felt humiliated. But we said, what is the point of talking to you when none of your recommendations are honored by Government of India? They're thrown in a dustbin. So what is the point of talking to you?
No,
so the answer, I'm eventually coming to it. The answer is, if you ask me straight, I think some sort of a government where you would have, ideally speaking, this is a utopian world, maybe not cut out for India in 2024, but I'm trying to paint a utopian picture. Maybe having experts from various fields come in, who will raise above petty political consideration and look at, do a SWOT analysis of India and say, तेलंगाना क्या कर सकता है, आंध्रा क्या कर सकता है, महाराष्ट्र का स्ट्रेंथ क्या है, गोवा का स्ट्रेंथ क्या है, इस पे प्ले करो, और जो स्किल जिसका है, उसके लिए उसको एक कंसिडरेशन और उसके लिए कोई पार्क बना रहे हो, तो वहां दे दो. जहां स्ट्रेंथ है वहां ताकत लगाओ, रिसोर्स लगाओ, क्योंकि कम रिसोर्स है. तो अनलेस ऐसा एक माहौल बने where SWOT analysis done for the entire country and we play to our strengths and we also offset our weaknesses by way of leveraging our existing resources. But I don't think that is going to happen anytime soon. So whatever I just said will remain on paper for a very long time.
If I may just follow up,
Yes,
my point was, I'm fully sensitive to each and everything that you have said. My point only was that, what should be the mechanism to carry out exactly this conversation that you're saying, because the current mechanisms are not working. The current institutions, as you said, the Niti Aayog, the GST Council, floor of House and Parliament, all of that is not working. Cabinet is not working. So one solution seems to be for there to be a coalition government in the center. But it may again become it may get hijacked by exactly the same kind of interests that currently work. Coalition is no guarantee against majoritarianism. So is there scope for the southern states or any states to come together and for them to create an institution? Because Niti Aayog, etc., all center created institutions.
अगर सदर्न स्टेट्स साथ आएंगे ना, कल से हमें लेबल दिया जाएगा कि हम लोग देश से अलग होना चाहते हैं.
So let me put it differently. Let me put it differently.
Let me tell you one thing. I know, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. There is a huge, and I'm presuming you're a journalist, Pooja, so, and all the journalists here are going to hate me for saying this. The media in this country has lost its spine. There is no way the media in this country is able to question the Prime Minister or his government, unfortunately. और दूसरी बात, there is a heavy information vacuum in this country. मुझे कभी का एक बार एक समाचार लेने के लिए, एक न्यूज़ लेने के लिए 4-5 न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना पड़ता है कि है कहाँ न्यूज़ यार. एक पेपर पढ़ोगे तो बोलेगा वो कि कुछ और हो रहा है, दूसरा बोलेगा न्यूज़पेपर कम हो गया, व्यूज़ पेपर ज्यादा हो गया, दूसरी बात. तो इसीलिए the only instrument that I depend on today is social media, because that has become sort of more democratic. So I think crowdsourcing of ideas is not such a bad idea. If I was given an opportunity, I would certainly do that. In fact, in my current role as well, even this morning, one commuter from Hyderabad texted saying, or tweeted saying, boss, ऐसा करो कि तुम लोग citizen awareness groups बनाओ, citizen volunteers को add करो. I take up suggestions. I try and do that as much as I can in the limited time that I have. But I hope and pray that government, whoever is in government in 24, will also have the wisdom. It will dawn on them. I hope it dawns on them to also be democratic, to also be crowdsourcing ideas from no matter where they come from, which corner of India, and pick up on best practices. शर्माने की क्या बात है? अगर तेलंगाना कुछ अच्छा कर रहा है तो पिकअप करो, और कोई और कुछ अच्छा कर रहा है तो हमें बताओ कि गोवा ने अच्छा कुछ किया, तेलंगाना आप भी करो. ये बड़े ब्रदर, बिग ब्रदर वाला काम जिसको करना चाहिए ना, वो नहीं कर रहा है. वो बिजी है बाहर घूमने में. तो इसलिए उनको कभी का एक बार इंडिया भी वापस आना चाहिए, काम करना चाहिए, और ग्राउंड लेवल काम करना चाहिए.
Sir.
Okay, we have just time for one question.
Okay,
So maybe this young man can take this.
Sir, I am Arvind. We are the MES batch going the foundation course here. I am from Bhimavaram. I have seen many of my people migrating from there to Hyderabad for businesses. Though we are the #1 state in ease of doing business, had from 3 years back. So can you tell it in your words that what made the Hyderabad so welcoming to them? So
I'll tell you one thing though. See, Andhra has its own strengths. Telangana has its own strengths. Richa alluded to sibling rivalry. We have no rivalry with Andhra. In fact, I wish the very best for Andhra because they are my sister state. Without a question, I hope and pray they do as well as we do. In fact, in some counts, they actually do better than us as well. See, Andhra has its own strengths. When I say its own strengths, they have a huge coastline. They have a number of maritime ports. They have a large number of towns which in fact, in Telangana we don't have. We have a Hyderabad, but you have number of other towns. For example, you have Rajahmundry, you have Tirupati, you have Kurnool, you have Kadapa, you have Vijayawada, and I can go on. There's Vizag, of course. So all of these tier 2 cities that you have are a huge asset to you. I'm very confident that the current government and the previous government and whoever is running the government in Andhra, they've done their best, and I'm sure they'll continue to do their best. And Hyderabad, like I said, is not just for people of Telangana. Hyderabad will continue to remain an India city. In fact, our ambition, our Chief Minister's ambition, is to make Hyderabad a global metropolis. So if I have to make it a global metropolis, I can't say I'll shut my doors to people from Bhimavaram or Rajahmundry or Kodad. You have to have everybody come here in search of opportunities. But as long as you're able to provide the same opportunities elsewhere in a decentralized fashion, it works well for all of us, is what I would like to believe.
I would like to add one more line, sir.
Yeah, I think
Just one more line.
the time is running out and the minister has to go.
I
But
can
before that,
envy
gentlemen,
that
please.
you got enlisted to the Telangana during the asset allocations.
Sorry?
I can envy that you got enlisted into Telangana during the asset allocation.
I was born here, so I wasn't enlisted.
Still, you are welcome here.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And before, sir, I would like to take some objection to the minister's statement on media.
Media gurincha?
Yeah, and so I request him to read the Hindu.
ఒక్క నిమిషం ఏమన్నాను నేను? తప్ప ఏమన్నాను? మీరు వాస్తవాల్ని వాస్తవాలుగా రాయట్లేదు, వార్తల్ని వార్తలుగా రాయట్లేదు. యూ షుడ్ ఆల్సో సీ, మేము ఇన్ని మాటలు పడతాం రోజు, మీరు ఒక్క మాటకే ఉలికి పడితే ఎట్లా? అప్పుడప్పుడు మీరు కూడా తట్టుకోవాలా, మాతో నిలబడాలి.
One last thing, and as I conclude this session, and just a minute.
If you could all settle down, please. We just have a quick token of our appreciation we would like to present to the minister. I would like to invite Mr. Benhur Eka also on stage.